Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Reality radio for a really great future. We're talking real money.
Hi, I'm Don. That's my buddy Tom, who lives in the Puget Sound region and is just too tough to have air conditioning in his home.
All I can say, I'm glad the Seattle area finally made the New York Times. I'm just so darn happy for that. So, for reasons aforementioned.
You're too tough for AC, huh?
Yeah.
That'll be some famous last words. And you know, for years you've been telling me this too. I've come out to visit like, I don't know, a dozen times, and every time I come out, it's ridiculously hot. And you go, oh, this is aberrant. This is aberrant. We just don't need air conditioning here in the Pacific Northwest. And I go, well, why then am I sleeping in your basement sweating? Remember when I stayed in your basement? Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, I don't think you should question why you have to sleep in the basement. That should be readily apparent due to our 30-year relationship. That should be pretty easy to figure out.
It was
in
the
terms of the
part.
heat.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. I can see that, but still.
100 and the air conditioner in the office will not keep up with that. You know that.
No, it won't. You know, I'm hot today, and it's not even a hot day yet.
Well, because you're all weather wimps. You know, come on, come down to Florida. Come down to Florida. We'll toughen you guys.
I agree with that. Seattle is the very middle. Nothing ever happens. It doesn't get too hot, too cold.
Wimpy weather people.
Till nowadays, it does.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Talking Real Money. I know you thought talking real weather for a minute because we had you fooled. And we can't talk weather because 111 sounds painful in Bellevue. 855-935-TALK is our phone number, 855-935-8255. You can call us with anything that's, money-oriented.
Not weather-related.
If they want to talk money and weather.
No.
How much air conditioners are going for right now.
Maybe some, I think I had this right, some hot stock tips.
Ooh, hot. Great. You got investment, a bad investment weather pun in one.
Well, I can do more. I mean,
no,
really going to make a big splash.
Not in the pool. Sorry, Tom put up his above-ground pool.
Oh, please. You're going to have to. I knew you'd have to hit me with that one today. I'm
thinking about featuring it on a future YouTube video.
First of all,
what?
Full disclosure, I did not put up there's someone else in this house that put it up. I had basically nothing to do with that. So
she had actually little or no faith in your ability to put together the 4-foot ladder.
She knows me well.
Yeah.
Well, okay. That's true. I did put the ladder together. And what did she say?
She goes, people have to get on that, right? You know that.
I'm like, yeah. Just want to remind you of that.
Apparently, she's really aware of Tom's home repair skills.
Well, just anything generally using my hands, not the best.
But the good news is he's good with money. So you're good, folks. You're good. Call us at 855-935-TALK, 855-935-8255. And we want to give you a sincere, heartfelt thank you.
Doesn't sound like it so far.
Thank you so much for listening to our show. And thank you so much for absolutely religiously following our sound science-based academic advice that all of you with whom we speak claim, well, not all of you, many of you claim to follow to the letter. You're using index funds. You're massively diversified. You've got international exposure. You've got small cap value. You don't time the markets. You don't buy individual stocks. You are an excellent investor, right?
Until we actually look at your portfolio, and then sometimes we scratch our heads. Yeah, because in the last week, I wrote these down.
Wait, just in the last week?
What you just this is the last week. Okay. And by the way, yes, it always comes down to what you just said. People generally call us, they want to look at my portfolio, but I'm doing everything you guys say. Okay. All right. You don't have to be defensive. It's your portfolio. Do as you like. And then we found someone that had about 50% of their portfolio in individual stocks, 25 of them.
Do we say
We do
no
not
to
believe
that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just too much risk. They can default. We found someone who had a lot in specialty funds. I won't say what the specialty was, but limited type of, industry, shall we say?
Yeah, segments of the economy, sectors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was number 3 was sectors. Ran into someone who had 4 different sector funds and thought they were widely diversified. Ran into someone who had all of their money in large U.S. companies. That is very typical, by the way. Most people have most of their money in the Standard & Poor's 500. Ran into a person this week that said, I'm pretty conservative. I don't like to take a lot of risk with my money because I'm retiring soon. They're 65 years old and they have 100% of their money in stocks. 100%.
Wow, that does not sound conservative.
No, it's not conservative. That's not conservative. And then my favorite, I don't believe in market timing, but last spring when the world market was coming to an end, I did move to cash and I have not reinvested yet.
We heard from a lot of people. We've heard from a lot of people who did that. I panicked last year, and I'm just waiting for it to go down. We'll talk more about this in a moment.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
A second opinion could save your life either physically or fiscally. Let one of our Vestory advisors help you save your future at Vestory.com, Vestory.com.
For your real life and real future, Tom and Don are talking real money.
Hi there. Welcome back to our get-together where we talk about money, we talk about life, we talk a lot about investing and how to do it right because we know that you're not doing as good a job as you might think you're doing. We know you think you're doing a really great job, but we tend to, as human beings, kind of paint a better picture of our own abilities than we deserve. And this is not to criticize. This is just human nature. That's a nice way of
saying we think more of ourselves than we really should. Is that what you're saying?
We think a lot more of ourselves than we really should, and particularly when it comes to our investing skills. Face it, you stink at investing. You just do. You need help. That's why we're here. There aren't a lot of people who are going to give you good advice. We at least are among the few who will give you the right advice. The problem is you need to actually take it.
Yeah, and many of you do, by the way, especially podcast listeners. It seems like they're more serious in some ways than the people listen to us on the radio. But again, we just touched on this briefly, Don, that people that I chatted with here literally within the last week, most of them told me, yes, I'm a follower of the show. I listen religiously and I do what you guys say. Then I look at your portfolio and say, when were you listening? Because these are not things. So let's just unpack this just a little bit more. Okay. First of all, individual stocks. Many of you hold individual stocks. The only reason I can ever ascertain you'd want to hold an individual stock is to beat the market, right? Otherwise, why wouldn't you just own the market?
Well, there's another way you're going to end up with individual stock, and that is if you work for an employer who matches you in stock or who gives you stock that's restricted. You may have to have some of that company stock for a while. Otherwise, you're right. Why would you have the stock of a company unless you thought that company, you believed fully in that company's certainty of beating the market?
And the other thing is when you hold that stock at your place of employment, you generally have more confidence in that company than you should because you're there every day. You see what's going on and you believe the future is bright for that company. And yes, I did know people that worked in Washington Mutual toward the end and they were sure it would all work out. They just didn't know how it would work out. It didn't work out well. Let's put it that way. Individual stocks, again, the academics are going to look at the stocks you hold and say the expected performance of those stocks or whatever asset class they are in. In other words, whatever type of stock it is, big, small, whatever, growth value, that's the expected performance. And the risk you're taking to get the performance of the market way off the charts because some companies default, they go out of business, you never hear from them again. That's number one. Number two.
Yes.
We ran into last week, great conversation with a fella that is already retired. He manages his own money, which I think is great. He's taking care of things, but he wanted us to look at his portfolio. We brought it in. We took a look at it. He has about half of the portfolio in specialty funds, one particular area of the market. I don't know how specific you want me to get with all this.
Well, no, you don't need, but you can get very specific. You can really tune your portfolio and get right down in there into very tiny segments of the market. But I don't care what segment it is, whether you could say, well, healthcare, people are getting older, it's going to do better. You'd own it in a diversified portfolio. You don't want to overweight it because you don't know what can happen to other economic forces out there that could change. For example, could healthcare, let's say it's nationalized. Well, that's going to hurt a lot of the private healthcare companies. So betting too much on any one sector is dangerous.
And in this case, this is a bet that includes legalization of a certain type of.
Oh, well, now we know what that is.
Anyway, the point is, and I think one of the stocks is down by 90%.
Wow.
So this is a bet. Yeah. It has to be considered a bet, a flyer, a hope. We don't believe in those. Sector funds, you kind of mentioned that briefly, Don, that we don't think you should go pick which part of the economy is going to do better than another because, first of all, it's already priced into the price of that security. In other words, the people that trade all of this have already said, well, yeah, healthcare is going to go up faster than blank because, by the way, healthcare costs have gone up about twice what inflation has for, I think, the last 20 years. So, but that's built into the price of that security, that sector. That's a problem.
Right.
When you think you're going to be smarter than anybody else.
The market is smarter than you are. The market is all of us. And in aggregate, we're pretty darn good at efficiently pricing something. It's like the old jelly bean game, where if you have enough people vote on how many jelly beans are in a jar, the average amount from the crowd is usually really close to accurate when no one could possibly know.
And this is another one that we see a lot that people, they will argue with us about this, which is fine. Again, this is your money. But many people, two last week, who had a portfolio all in large U.S. companies, because people have a tendency to trust the Standard & Poor's 500. 500 of the largest, most secure companies in the United States of America, right? And all the names that you know, right? Apple, Microsoft, et al. They make up a large part of the Standard & Poor's 500. The track record over the long haul, and yes, we did a podcast on what is the long haul. In the long run, we're all dead, so it doesn't matter. But
right.
The long haul is by being globally diversified, you've actually made a little bit more money and you've reduced the volatility. And yes, I get there's some discomfort with investing, exposing part of your portfolio to markets outside of the United States, but it's worked out at least to this point. What the future looks like, it's always uncertain.
Well, okay, it's worked out overall to this point, but the problem is people tend to either get greedy or fearful. Well, I want to be in the area that's doing the best right now, not the one that's doing the worst, and then I want to switch. So if international is going to be better in the future, I'll get into that when it's time to get into that, and I'll stay in the U.S. until it's time. That leads you to your other issue.
Well, and this is one comes up all the time. In fact, our advisor talked to someone recently who was talking. They have an advisor, this person, who told them we don't market time because market timing is reading tea leaves. We're talking about fundamental analysis. We use numbers to determine when to be in the market, when to be out of the market. I hate to break them to them. That's still market timing. That is still deciding when to be in the market more, or out of the market more, move around depending on whatever numbers you look at.
And
there's
again,
no indication.
That is an attempt to beat the market. And I am relatively confident that your local financial advisor does not know more about the companies he or she follows and tracks than do people who follow and track one company for a living in New York or London or wherever they might be. You can't beat the experts.
And this is something people believe, and which does bring me to this point we touched on very briefly about going to cash, or about what the immediate future may hold, or about, is the economy going to pick up now and take off? Should I invest more in stocks, or is it going to go down? Should I get out? Again, that's a style of timing. There is no indication that will make you more. In fact, the indication is you will end up with less.
Yeah, there's absolutely no evidence to support these ludicrous and spurious contentions. If you want to do it right, you actually have to listen carefully to what we're telling you and accept being the market.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
Tom and I created Vestory to help everyone become a better investor, even those who will never be clients. Let one of our advisors help you start your financial plan or solve a money problem free with no obligation or high-pressure sales pitch at Vestory.com. Vestory.com.
Your guides to a really great financial future. Tom and Don are talking real money.
I kind of feel bad. I'm here in the mountains of Virginia, and in a house with two full-sized air conditioners upstairs and down, HVAC units, and I feel bad. I'm feeling terrible.
If I had rotten eggs to throw 3,000 miles
really
right now,
bad.
I would throw them, but I don't. So, and by the way, we mentioned this in passing at the beginning of the show. The New York Times did do a piece on Seattle today talking about how it's still, I think, less than half of people in the greater Seattle area have air conditioners because we either don't think the weather calls for it, or we're tough Northwesterners and we don't need that kind of stuff.
Heck yeah! You even go down to the friendly neighborhood car dealer and say, "Air conditioning in that car? Take that stuff right out. Take it out. I don't need no stinking air conditioning."
My Sirius XM though. If that's
I wonder
okay,
how many,
sorry.
because cars, air conditioning it used to be you could get a stick and you could get a car without air.
Yeah,
Both
that's
automatics
true.
and air are pretty much standard equipment if the car's newer. I am betting that about half of the population of the greater Puget Sound region is going to be sitting out in the driveway with the AC running in the car.
Just let it rip. Yep.
Yeah, honey, I'm going to the
Monday's gonna
office.
be bad.
No, I'm just going to sit in the car.
Yeah, I mean, the office is going to be hot on Monday, so we'll see. It'll be curious.
But our advice has a cooling effect on your heated up
Well, I've never
financial-
done a show with this many fans. I'll put it that way. Now they're operating around the house right now.
The
but
problem
it's-
is that in the place where you are, in addition to the outside air, it's filled with internal hot air. Just
Blather
blast
watch.
furnace. 855-935-TALK. That is our phone number. Give us a call. 855-935-8255. You can call us any time you want and leave your question, but during the show you can call live, and we talk live, and we love doing that with you. 855-935-TALK. As a matter of fact, call us with your portfolio. A lot of you are going to be staying home. You don't want to go out in the hot. It's not that hot right now, is it? It's not bad.
I think it's 90.
That's pretty hot for you guys. You might want to just go grab your statements. And, on the show, let's just
93, pardon me.
Let's go through it and make sure you're doing this right. You want to do it right. This is your future that's on the line. And that's something I don't understand, is why people want to play with their future. I can understand wanting to play with money to get rich quickly. I mean, I can understand that. But why would you play with your long-term future? 855-935-TALK. Mike, welcome to Talking Real Money.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Driving over the pass, heading to eastern Washington. So, hey, I've got kind of a lengthy question. I don't know how much this we can actually handle right now, but we've talked before. But I'm not planning to retire. But just for grin, let's say that I did decide to retire this year, and I'm 60 years old. Kind of wanted to get an idea of what the path would look like. I have about $2.3 million in stocks and 401k, and you guys will hate it, but $700,000 of that alone is in Apple stock.
We hate that, yes.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I know where we go on that.
And I love Apple. I love Apple, just not the stock.
I know. Yeah,
Okay.
Exactly. So, $2.3 million in 401k. Actually, $700,000 of that is the privately held stocks, not in the 401k. 6 years old, wouldn't be taking Medicare Social Security until age 70. But what would be the process if I were to come to you guys and say, "Hey, look, here's the issue: is that the worst thing that could ever happen to an investor happened to me. I got market timing right the first time I tried it." And then thought that I knew how to time the market. I got out right as Obama was coming into office, and then once the economy started to pick up, I put all my money back in, and I thought, oh, hey, I know how to do this now. So in the last 4 years, I've gotten out of the market twice and then watched it zoom up. I am fully invested again, so I kind of
hang on a second.
Okay,
Mike.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of peek at these numbers. Tom's going to put on his advisor cap again and take off his that big hat with the fan in it that's cooling his brain off, and try to let you know how you could retire if you wanted to.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
Tom and I created Vestory to help everyone become a better investor, even those who will never be clients. Let one of our advisors help you start your financial plan or solve a money problem free with no obligation or high-pressure sales pitch at Vestory.com, Vestory.com.
Reality radio for a really great future. We're talking real money.
All right, we're trying to help Mike retire, even though he's not retiring, at 855-935-TALK on Talking Real Money. About $2.3 million, 60 years old. And Tom, what are your thoughts on Mike's retirement potential?
Well, this always comes down to, first of all, what your cost of living is, how much money you need to pay the bills and to do the things in retirement you want to do.
All right, let's ask Mike. Mike, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
What's your annual cost of living?
It's going to be really low. I have my house fully paid off. Let's say probably $30,000, including all expenses, and that would be a little bit of travel.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
yeah. No, I mean, so let's just give some rough numbers. You're $2.3 million. If you took out 4% of that a year, is about $90,000 a year. So the first thing would be to look at your whole portfolio and figure out the most tax efficient manner to create the income from that, because some might be pre-tax, some might be post-tax like Roth, and some might be regular taxable. So you'd have to have a strategy there. Number two, in my heart of hearts, if you retire at 60, to wait until age 70 to take Social Security might be a long time. That's a lot of stress to put on your portfolio.
Not at 2% per year or 1.5% per year. That's no stress.
What are you talking about? Oh, if you're only taking out 1 or 2%.
Yeah, he'd only be taking out 1.5 or 2% to live very comfortably.
Well, now, but he did say I thought I heard something about health care in there. Do you have a way to pay? Are you going to be?
I would have to pay for my own health care. Yeah. And
all right. Well, I can tell you what that's going to be. That's going to be about $2,500 a month.
What?
Yeah, to get private insurance. Yeah.
For one person?
Well, are you one person or two?
I'm one person.
All right, still going to be $20,000.
I'd say $1,200. Yeah,
no,
okay, that
it's going to be $20,000 because you got to cover deductibles. You got to cover deductibles, co-pays. That
adds another aspect. And by the way, that's another worry, that when you retire at 60, you have to wait 5 years to get Medicare, right? I mean, that's a long time, and even Medicare, of course, is not free the way many people think it is.
Just Part A.
So those would be other factors. And then the other factor, frankly, is the looming ship in the night for me is the $700,000 in Apple, which has had a great run, but that's still a third of your overall holdings. It makes me queasy because if something goes wrong at Apple and in the technology sector, things certainly can go wrong, and they can go wrong fast.
Is that inside or outside a retirement account?
That's outside of a retirement account. And guys, I guess my question really boils down to this, because I think going with a fiduciary is the way I need to go. That's going to protect me from myself, from the next time I get scared, taking all my money out or throwing all my money in. It's gonna give me that stability. But if I do, and you guys want to put me into dimensional funds, for example, what do I do? What happens with all of that money I have in the market? Do I have to pay? You've
got to tax manage it. You must. No good fiduciary advisor is going to have you liquidate $700,000 worth of taxable gains in a single year. That would be utterly irresponsible and not in your best interest.
Yeah, so what would happen would be accounts would be open for you, then money would be rolled over in kind, in other words, the holdings you already have in Apple. Then you would come up with a long-term strategy to sell out of that position.
As part of rebalancing in part two.
Yeah, I have seen advisors sell everything. I think that's irresponsible because that just creates a huge tax hit. You'd come up with something over 10 years or hopefully less, but you'd be selling out of those shares over time. And as you said, moving into mutual funds or exchange traded funds would be far more diversified.
What a good advisor is going to try to avoid is bracket creep. And there's even bracket creep with capital gains. So you want somebody who's really going to sit down and look at those numbers carefully and say, okay, this year you can take this much out, because bear in mind, nobody likes to pay taxes on a gain, but someday you got to pay taxes on a gain. It has to happen. And it's better sooner than later in a case like this so that you can improve the quality of the overall portfolio and your ability to weather the storms that might occur when you're in retirement. Right now, you can weather them because you've got the job to back you up. That's your emergency plan. But someday you won't have that emergency, and that's why it's got to be properly diversified.
Mike, did we answer your question for you?
Yeah, I need to meet with a young man whose last name happens to be the same as yours, Tom. I'll be meeting with him again soon, and we'll talk about it.
Well, he needs work, so good.
No,
I'm glad to hear that.
Not nepotism again. No.
We don't believe in that at Vested.
Yeah,
no
no
way, man. No way. Well,
Can my
Mike,
daughter get a job?
By the way, Mike, I respect a man who has to go to Eastern Washington this weekend to get some sun and heat. So good luck with that, because it doesn't exist over here. So
amazing. I just can't get over how hot it's going to be there. I truly can't wrap my head around it. It's like, I don't think I've ever experienced heat like that, ever.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
Is your portfolio a mess? You may have a case of hodgepodgeitis, but don't worry, we can help. Just set up a free, no-obligation meeting with a Vestory advisor at Vestory.com. No sales pitch, guaranteed. That's Vestory.com.
For your real life and real future, Tom and Don are talking real money.
The reason we do this is because so much of your life, so much of your existence involves dealing with money. You're spending it, you're earning it, you're trying to control it, you're trying to control your spending, your debt. You're trying to, though, and we hope all of you are trying really hard to invest it for your future. But it's a balancing act, getting this right. That's why we want you to call us at 855-935-TALK so we can help you get it right, at least get it better. 855-935-8255. You can also send questions in at TalkingRealMoney.com, which is our website. And you can type them in, you can speak them in, but people tend to type them in like this. Don and Tom. 5 years ago, I found myself $109,000 in debt. Know the feeling. That's a Don aside. I've been paying it down and have consolidated it into one loan, but unfortunately it has a high percentage rate of 12.49%. I have tried to refinance it twice and can't get the bank to lower it. Over the last 2 years, I have begun to invest. I currently have about $20,000 in a post-tax brokerage account. I have paid almost $85,000 off of my debt off and was wondering if I should use the money in my investment account to pay the rest of the debt off. I am military and am maxing out my TSP contributions, and I don't want to touch that. Good.
Yes. I mean, the fact is to pay 12% to others while you're trying to make hopefully 8 to 10% if you're a great investor. Mm-hmm. It's a no-brainer to me. It's compounding interest. I mean, every day they're throwing more. Let's just get rid of that, clean that up. And you already said you're putting money in the TSP, which is a great retirement program. So absolutely on that one.
And you're working, and it sounds like you're relatively young still. You're going to be building that TSP up until it's a lot. You can use, what you should do is take the money that you are now paying toward the 100 or what the 20 some odd thousand in debt that's left, because you've already paid off 85,000. Take that money and start funding a Roth IRA if you're eligible, or put it in your post-tax brokerage account and start refunding it. But 12.49, one, you can't get that, as Tom said. And two, let me tell you, and Tom will attest to everybody who's done this, paying off your debt just feels great.
It does. Yeah. I mean, Dave Ramsey's right about that in many ways, right? There's a psychological aspect.
So good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, life looks brighter when you're out from under the darkness of that debt load.
I agree. The only thing that would feel better would be an air conditioner. If somebody wants to drop that off at my place sometime this afternoon, that would be terrific.
You have one. One.
I have 2 room ones.
You have 2 room ones? Where's the other room one?
Yeah. Well, take a guess.
In Aria's room.
The room above. Yes, she has hers there, too. Yes.
Oh, good for her. I thought she was going to suffer.
13,
she's 13. Let her suffer.
I know. I put my grandsons came over yesterday, and they had to take a nap before they got to go in the above-ground pool. I put them in their room. Their room was about 112 degrees. Needless to say, they did not fall asleep.
Wait, but that was yesterday? It was that hot?
Yes. Oh, I can't even wait to go up there today. This probably burst into flames or something. So, yeah, it's uncomfortable.
That sounds really painful.
You want to hit me with another one? By the way,
Sure.
Thank you for your service. We do appreciate it, and it is absolutely recognized. So
you're going to love this one. This was out of Tennessee. Brentwood, Tennessee. That's a Nashville
right up
suburb.
the road for you there. Yeah.
Not far from where I am. Several hours, but
yeah.
All right.
Close.
Here's the question. One weekend.
Why are you laughing?
Because the question's funny to me.
Okay, good.
One weekend
I'm big
while
on fun.
driving through Houston, Texas, I heard an infomercial for investing in viaticals. I'm not really interested in the product, but I don't remember ever hearing you address them before. Thoughts?
Yeah, because they went out. They came in, they went out. Because we haven't. They're back? Wait a minute. Really? I guess they never went completely away, but they went mostly away. Do you want to describe what that investment is?
A viatical agreement. There are viatical funds, not like mutual funds, but private products, where these viatical companies go to people with life insurance policies who are supposedly terminally ill. And they give them cash that they can use while they're alive.
Cash out the policy.
And
they give the
for example, $100,000 policy, they might give the person $80,000 or $75,000 up front. And then when that person kicks the bucket, they collect the $100,000 death benefit. It is one of the most ghoulish investment vehicles ever.
I'm trying to think of a worse one. Oh, maybe betting on lean hogs might be worse, but okay, that's a whole other thing.
But the fact of the matter is they are so horribly abused. They're unregulated. There was a long period of time where people were lying about their health status to sell their policies, and people with viaticals ended up spending all this money on a policy, and they have to wait 30 years for the person to die, taking their returns from double digits to fractions of single digits.
This is one of those products, too, also where I look at it and say, why? Why do you need it? Aren't investing in stocks and bonds enough, or real estate? I mean, why do you need another thing that can make you, I get it.
You need it because there's a guy selling it. You need it because there's somebody on the radio selling it because they know it's unregulated. They know they're going to make a fortune because they get all the money up front when they sell it, and you're the sucker taking all the risk on the backside.
And yeah, you mentioned them getting paid. I'll bet the commissions on a product like this are substantial.
10% plus range?
Oh.
I'd guess. Yeah. That's just a guess. Because they're unregulated. They can pretty much do anything they want. These are private products, and there's a lot going on out there that is unregulated. There are a lot of cons out there. And please, I know we're on the radio, but just because somebody's on the radio doesn't mean they're telling the truth. There is no vetting. Well, some vetting, but very little vetting. Not much. As a matter of fact, most radio stations, if you have a check that doesn't bounce
and a heartbeat, you're on.
You're on.
Well, a voice. You have to be able to speak.
Well, no, you could actually.
But you have to be able to speak.
Honestly, I believe the computer voices are so good, you could just type your entire show. Hello, and welcome
Reagan
to my rip-off show
next week. Yeah. Yeah, people do assign a credibility to the fact that we are on the air and that others are on the air too. That gives you credibility when in some ways it really shouldn't.
Yeah, although one of the things, and I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. One of the things that's unique about Como Radio is that they contacted us to do a show on their weekend slots. They didn't just want to sell it to anybody. They wanted something that was credible. And that is really to KOMO's credit. They wanted a credible show that would have a good audience and would help the rest of their station. It wasn't just anything for a buck like a lot of them. 855-935-TALK is our phone number.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
Set your course for a great future with a free copy of our 60-page Better Retirement Guidebook at Vestory.com, Vestory.com.
Your guides to a really great financial future. Tom and Don are talking real money.
Yeah, and in the heat, it is important to stay hydrated. So the good news is that you guys have the best water. The Pacific Northwest, the Seattle area, man, the water tastes so good there. Anyway, if you're looking for a lot more help than you will get on the show just by calling us at 855-935-TALK, if you're looking for, spend an hour with an advisor, we make our advisors available to everybody at no cost, with no obligation, and no high pressure sales pitch. So go to Vestory.com and set up an appointment. That's Vestory.com.
We hope you realize that the information provided on Talking Real Money is for educational and hopefully enjoyable purposes only. Providing personalized financial planning or investing advice takes time, so please consult with a really good fee-only fiduciary investment, tax, or legal advisor. We know a good one. Investing must always involve risk. In other words, you can and probably will lose money at times. Also, as much as you want it, no one can accurately, consistently predict the future. So past performance doesn't tell you a darn thing about what the future will bring. Unlike many other programs that say something similar, Talking Real Money is not trying to get you to buy or sell any financial products or securities. Instead, the program is provided as a public service by Vestory, a fee-only registered investment advisor. Thanks for listening, and please visit TalkingRealMoney.com for more information and disclosures. That should keep the lawyers happy.